welcome to the Push-Pull Sales and Marketing Podcast. I'm Marcello.
And I'm Sherry, and each episode will provide you with sales and marketing strategies that you can implement immediately into your own business. Today, I'm speaking with Louie Vella, a former music TV host who has become an entertainment branding expert. Louie crafts social marketing and branding strategies that result in hugely successful events, concerts, festivals, and we're even going to dive into a little bit about business side of things, the conferences and the trade shows and all of that. So his tools and experience that he uses in the music industry easily translate to other industries as well, which is why we're excited to have him on the podcast today. Thanks for speaking with us, Louie.
Well, thanks for having me on, and thanks for everybody out there who is taking some minutes out of their day to listen. This is great.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. Where did you come from? It sounds like you have a fascinating background. How did that lead you to now?
Yeah. So it started way back when. As a kid, I wanted to do the entertainment industry. Even as a young child, I always knew I wanted to get into entertainment somehow, whether it was going to be acting or a musician. Everybody has those similar dreams, but I thought, I need to really push and figure a way how to do this. And so I did a lot of the extra work and some young modeling and try to play a couple instruments here and there as I was growing up. None of those actually stuck as those official careers. But, in your college days or late high school, you get the part-time jobs. Some people do retail and some people do grocery store. And I did a little bit of both as well. But I really got into the nightclub and bar business. So I was helping out friends that were promoters, and they were older than me. And I was helping them bring people in, hand out some flyers, help them with design work, just learning as much as possible. And I thought, this is a fascinating part of the business. Of course, being nightclub and bar, you see all the craziness that goes on. But, to me, it always was a business. I was never the biggest partier and kind of idea, but I knew I had a business sense. I knew I couldn't really play an instrument or sing. So this was going to be my into the entertainment industry. And that's really where I got my start. And as I kind of went through college and university, and I did have a corporate job for like a year and a half. I was a business executive flown all over the United States and Canada doing marketing, which is really fun, except on the side, moonlighting, I was still doing this nightlife business. I had my own events. I had quickly left the friend promoters and started my own business when I was young, and I started booking my own shows and doing my own little mini concerts and booking bands and DJs and whatnot. So I was doing that even through my small corporate stint, and I quickly realized that I don't want to hand out another resume again. I'm going to stick to this. This is actually obviously good money, but it's way more fun and it's entertainment. It's what I really want to do. And so that's kind of where I got my start all the way through up into today now. In between that, I did radio, television, building my authority and my celebrity in this niche market. And now, working with some pretty high-end festivals and high-end concerts and now record labels and things like that. So it's been a great journey.
That's awesome. And you said that you did some of the TV and radio stuff. You made it sound like it was a means to an end. Did it feel like that to you in the moment? Like you're like, well, I have to take on this to show that I know what I'm talking about? Or did you enjoy that as much as the promoting itself? Or do you really like being on the ground?
No, I definitely enjoyed it quite a bit. I loved television and radio, and I think radio. So the story with radio is I was obviously doing my local promotions and I was building concerts and stuff. I wasn't global or national yet at all. I knew that was the long-term goal, but these were stepping stones. Right. So I figured, hey, if I get on a local radio station, the popular, Hot 97 or whatever they are stations, I'll be a radio personality, and that's going to help build some clout, and some people will want to come out to my events because now I can also host, not just as a higher end promoter, but now I'm a personality. And that's kind of fascinating, especially as a child wanting to be in entertainment. This was another way to get that mini celebrity out, right? Totally. And of course, I had friends in radio and even program directors, but nobody's hiring in radio, especially back in the day when internet was really getting stronger and stronger. There was really no streaming out there. Was just starting. Podcasting was just in its infancy. I mean, the iPhone 7 didn't even come out, or 7. iPhone itself didn't even come out. So this is 2005-ish, 2000. And I thought, okay, well, if I can't get into radio this way and I can't get through this door, I'm going to build my own door beside it and break that open. So what I did was I learned how to produce my own show, much like we're all doing today with podcasting. Well, that was still in the infancy. I had to do a lot of research online, slow internet and figure this out. Yeah. And I produced my own top 10 countdowns, much like the Ryan Seacrests of the world, right? And I thought, cool, well, if I can't get into radio the traditional way, I'm going to create my own radio show and syndicate it. And I did that, hustled, and got onto 350 radio stations around the world. So that was a great stepping stone, but it was a lot of fun. And of course, radio started to go a little lopsided. People were getting to podcasts a lot more. And I thought the next step for me was television. And I did the same thing. Got into national TV by producing my own TV show. Then I got picked up as a host, and I was interviewing people like Lady Gaga, Richard Branson, the Backstreet Boys, Tommy Lee. I mean, so many great artists. And that was, again, growing my authority, but also forging some amazing relationships in the industry. I got to meet managers and agents and celebrities, and I knew this would all kind of get into my toolbox as I kept growing as a business as well, and creating concerts and having these relationships.
Absolutely. And you said another interesting thing in there where you talked about becoming a local celebrity of sorts, like starting there, recognizing that there is a market in your hometown and getting a dose of that and then building it bigger. I think people are missing the power of local marketing and becoming a person of interest in the local community. And how much of an effect that can have. I think people, I've been trying to talk to a lot of small businesses where they're overwhelmed that they feel like they need to have thousands of Facebook followers or Instagram followers. And I'm like, really? You only need the 500 people in the couple block radius, and you'll be good to go. So starting there, and then of course you can grow it beyond that, but don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. If you know your business and your audience, you don't need the millions of fans or the thousands of fans, and you don't need to try and strive for this celebrity status or authority status that is, beyond what you require. So for me at the time, I was looking at local radio because that was for my local business, and that's all that I required. And I had different goals to get more global. So now I have, concerts all throughout the United States. Absolutely. And I have clients in Australia and UK, but that was a goal for me as a business, especially because I knew it as a consultant for them. I can do this via Skype or Google Hangouts, and I can have a global audience. And as markets kind of shift locally and perhaps it dries up, I don't have to worry. But that's not the same for a lot of businesses out there. So you're absolutely right. If somebody wants to create articles on their own blog or do the local AM station or get on local TV as an expert or even write a book and not worry about selling thousands of copies, just hand it out to your local chamber of commerce. You're creating a celebrity status for yourself locally, much like people always, you say, oh, the weather guy, and they bump into them and they want to get an autograph. He's just the local weather guy, but he's famous, right? And that's all you need if that is what your audience is. If your audience is local, whatever that may be, you're the local lawyer or you're the local pizzeria or whatever, you need to understand where your audience is and who that audience is and then how to get at them. So you may not want to waste time and energy trying to be global if that's not your audience at all. You're absolutely right.
So what I really wanted to dive into with you is events, throwing an event, whether that's, a conference or a trade show or something on your side where it's an entertainment type event. How do we do it? How do we do it successful? How often does it actually, how often does it actually come to fruition? Or can you expect your first couple attempts to be a flop?
I don't think you can expect them to be a flop. While, of course, some might be a flop, and that's just something to expect. I've had a few, concerts that I lost money at, but they were great events. Even, I took calculated risks. So at a smaller venue of 1,000 people, but it still cost me, $30,000, $40,000 to put on, which isn't a huge amount of money, but it's my money. Right. And, I have 900 people show up, which is a great party and everybody's shaking my hand, except I lost $1,000, which, in the end you're thinking, okay, great. It's still, you have to think about what is the play though here. Of course, making money is play one, but the secondary was great branding for me. I knew people would buy tickets for the next one and that kind of idea. I didn't want to lose all $30,000, but could I get the same marketing out of $1,000 spend? Probably not, right? Exactly. I got to be the one who did an interview with a celebrity and I got to be the one to introduce, I got to be the one walking around shaking hands with the consumers. So it was a great play, but that in my sense was, I guess, sort of a flop. It wasn't empty, but it was a loss. But it definitely happens, and it's okay to think about. You just have to make your plan, and I think that's the key here. You need a plan. A lot of people think I'm going to make a small meeting. Let's say I'm going to get a place in a hotel, and I'm going to do a talk for an hour or two and a little workshop and have like 50 people there. And that's small. That's a great place to start. But you have to understand what your actual goal is for that. Are you there just to take capture and document yourself speaking so that you can use that to your advantage, make yourself an authority on social media, which is a branding play, and that's cool. Are you going to use that to get clients out of the 50 people that show up, right? What is the actual goal? Or are you looking at something, a large-scale event, a few thousand people, and you're going to get the Tony Robbins of the world and the Richard Bransons and the Gary Vaynerchuks to show up, and you're going to pay them, whatever their fee is at the time, 100 grand, 200 grand, 50 grand. Yeah. And are you going to calculate that? And that's okay too. So I've done everything from the concerts. My wife and I, she does consumer trade shows as well, and we also did a business conference, which was a fairly decent size with speakers and whatnot. So we did that. I've done some smaller, like I just mentioned, meeting rooms with the under 50 people. They all have specific goals, but like I mentioned earlier, you need a plan for all of them. Like you need to have what's the goal of this conference going to be, and then start planning it out. So you need to really have your own little checklist of, do I need insurance? What about the chairs? Who's going to have those? Is that included in my rental? What do they need as a deposit? So how much money do I need as a deposit? And then hopefully the tickets sell pre-sale that can pay for the other half, right? So there's a lot of things that you need to checklist to make sure you have them down. Are you going to offer food, coffee, tea, donuts? Like what is it that you want to offer to have people comfortable? And I think it just boils down to the experience. What is the experience per event that you want to give people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And when you're talking about knowing your goal of the event, it's a great point because the goal is not necessarily, I think a lot of people go into it, they're like, I'm going to make money off of this. And that's not always the best way to go about it. Maybe it's more valuable for you to pick up a couple clients that will actually pay you a lot more money down the road. And like you said, maybe it's a branding play. So really stopping, thinking about it before you just dive in and see dollar signs. I think we get caught up in that a lot. And then I'm also curious about the marketing behind it. How do you have a specific outline that you typically use to 6 months out, we start doing this, 3 months out, we start doing this, or does it really depend event to event?
I think it depends on the size of the event, knowing how many tickets you need to sell. So again, like you just mentioned, depending on the goal you have, sometimes you profit and you make only $2,000, but you've worked on it for 6 months, right? Yeah. So again, it's not a monetary gain. And of course, many, many times it is a profitable venture and you sell great tickets and you make good money. Plus you get clients out of it and it's like a double home run. And that's fantastic. Does it happen all the time? Yeah, often when you have your plan down, but it may not happen, which is okay. I know a lot of people that do events that are no ticket like prices. They're free. You come in, they use it to the branding, but they also do get clients in the room, which is great. But so as for the marketing, it really depends. So I work with festivals where we do 30,000 people a day. So we're looking at, 60 to 80,000 people over the weekend. And I start marketing almost a year in advance. I would say 10 months out, I start the planning. I start doing some social media, getting people excited. Then pre-sales come into play about 6 months out. Then tier one tickets. So that is a larger scale event. And I know I need to baby step everybody along the storyline for months and months and months, right? And I've done other events where I have 3-4 weeks promo. It's only a couple hundred people I have to show up. About 4 weeks out, I start promoting it. I mean, that's not ideal. I like to give more time. I think people in any sales process need that 8 to 12 touches, right? Interactions, sales. And that includes obviously social media or an email sequence. But so to squeeze all that in with the amount of people you need, I think you need a little bit more than 4 weeks. But I've done that before and it can be done. So as for like an idea or a plan or a checklist, so let's say as an example, you want to fill a room of 50 people. Let's say you're a real estate agent or you're doing web service or you're just a consultant like myself and we're doing something local and you want to get the local businesses involved. I would say the first thing you need to do after you've organized the actual event, when you think about marketing side itself and you're in that room, I would start figuring out who the audience is. And you probably already have a generic sense of who they are. So again, if you're real estate or you're a web designer, you might know exactly the type of person you want. And then I would start to build the storyline of how do we introduce them as a cold audience to yourself and your event. That's going to be layer one. And I would definitely use things like Facebook advertising, Instagram advertising. I would make sure I retarget very heavy, very, very heavy, because that's going to be important in the sequence. I would gather emails if you can. I know email open rates are starting to drop here and there, so you can test that out. I've started to test out just social media retargeting and no opt-ins, and that's been working very well right now, and not ask for an email. So you mess around with your own audience and figure them out, and if they're opening and excited. But I think layer one, and we're talking, let's say the 6 weeks out, I would start to just introduce yourself. And that could be, a local newspaper article or your own blog post or your own video on sort of the industry and who you are in your event, because it's just introducing a cold audience. Then in layer two, I would go retarget those people who now have introduced themselves to you. And I would start saying, hey guys, we have an event going on. Here's the great speakers we have, or this is what I'm going to be talking about. And I would start giving them a good week of push of retargeting. And then in week 3, I would start with this ticket sales. Here's your early bird sales. You know what I mean? That kind of idea. Yeah. And you're using the typical sales funnel online and in social media, but you're creating this storyline. You're not just hitting them up with a cold sale. A lot of people hate that. You're going to get low relevancy scores. You're going to get high click-through rates. That could be a layer you put, but I wouldn't put all your money in that right at the beginning. I would definitely use a funnel and bring them down the funnel. A good reason why I say for festivals, I give it like 10 months, I don't start sales till 6 months out, but I have warmed up the audience. I've given them pictures from last year, a teaser movie. Like I've given them reason to just start to follow and get excited again. And then the headliners, and this is what they do and their music. And then I start hitting them with tickets, right? So I would say you scale that down to a smaller version of that, but I would definitely take that entertainment industry model and bring it to every business and every event out there.
Yeah, that's a good point too, that it drives me crazy when people are still trying to market something as this, this great big mystery, like, I don't know, buy a ticket and show up and see what happens kind of thing. Yeah. Like, no, like tell me exactly what I'm going to get. And then I can either, decide whether it's valuable to me or not. Or, if it's valued to me, I can start getting excited about it. I can start thinking about it. I can be, more engaged in it and be telling other people like, hey, come with me. We're going to learn X, Y, Z.
And it comes down to the experience too. Like, how are you selling that experience through Facebook or Instagram? As an example, if it's a talk, let's say I'm giving a talk on marketing. Well, what can you not learn from finding one of my webinars, listening to these podcasts in the comfort of your own home in PJs, right? Like what, or just researching and learning from the Facebook business accounts, things like that. So how can I sell the different experience that, yes, you may know similar things that you've already heard from me. However, there's this great networking opportunity. These are the people that are going to be here that you want to hand out business cards to. We have a speed networking event. Like, what is going on around that event that's not just here's my info, which you may be able to get off my similar webinar, right? Yeah. There has to be a different reason and experience for them to actually either buy a ticket, or if it's free, get out of their PJs and come down, right? I've always said that this even with nightclub venues, right? That I used to work with a lot more of them, and now I do more festivals. But what are you giving that's different to anybody? They always complain the millennials are on social media and it's wrecked them. I'm like, no, you've wrecked it. I don't use VHS anymore, but you have the same DJ or band, bar on the right side, doorman at the front. What's different with you as a venue? Right. Why do I have to come out, listen to the same music that I can get on Spotify? People have online apps and online websites to find guys and girls. What is it that you're giving other than possible headaches, right?
Yeah.
I could buy a case of beer or a bottle of vodka at home type of thing, like, and play Xbox with my friends. Like, what are you doing different? And they don't get that. And a lot of them, that's where their struggle is. It's not that social media doesn't work or millennials don't know what they're talking about, don't want to go out. It's the experience level they're not giving and not selling. So similar with events like this, what are we actually giving them when they get there, and how do we sell that on social media? Because there has to be a real reason, like you said, to get out and go there. And there's probably great reasons, but you may not be articulating that on your marketing. It might just be the flyer.
Right.
It's just like, okay, great. I can watch Gary V, all day long on YouTube if you have him there. But why do I want to come see him live when I know he's going to record it and put it out anyways 3 days from now? So maybe there's a different reason. Maybe they're excited to see him live and they haven't done it before because they're raving fans. Great. Well, that's a sliver of audience you need to target. But it's one sliver of audience, right? What else is going on? So you need to write all these things down, and then you can see a clearer picture of your marketing plan.
I love it. As far as experience, and you had talked briefly there at the beginning, that you do have to think through every tiny little detail. Which drinks are going to be there? Are there going to be snacks? Are you feeding them lunch? Where is that coming from? Are there going to be vendors? How many chairs do you need? You don't want too many or too little. Where's the event even being held? So what are a couple things that might slip through the crack that we wouldn't necessarily think of when setting up an event?
I would say make sure, things that some people may forget, and we both just forgot too, your audio and visual, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're at a hotel, do they provide that? But what's it like? I would definitely look into, okay, when you go there, don't just call the Holiday Inn and get their room that's inexpensive. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with doing it there, but maybe go check it out. What's the parking like? And then is it easily accessible to find your room? Or do you need signs up with arrows? Is that okay with the lobby? Or is it confusing to the rest of the guests? Like those little mini things are logistical things, I've had events where the parking is not free and it's kind of a pain to get to the hotel. And it was like, the GPS wasn't correct and it was just going to be an issue. Like all those mini things you need to check out even before you sign on that venue, just to make sure it's very easy and user-friendly for them to get there and walk into. But then again, check out the room. What's the audio like? Do you need to hire another production company to bring their own speakers with maybe a backdrop and a projector? Or when they say, no, we have it and it's free, is that garbage though? You know what I mean? Right. Is the two of the speakers in that room blown? And then the maintenance guy says, oh yeah, we're supposed to fix that 2 months ago. But here you go, you're at your event day and now you have problems to deal with, right? So definitely make sure those things are covered. Again, walk-in experience first sometimes, right? And think, okay, here they go. It's easy to find a hotel. It's off the highway or whatever. The parking's great. We walk in. Oh, cool. The room's right there. Easy enough. One sign. Maybe you have the tall banner. You walk in. Looks good. Okay, let's listen to audio. We have a slideshow. Great. This isn't, 1980s cheese looking. It's a beautiful projector, right? Like think experience first. So where's the coffee going to be? Excellent. That's easy to get up and not disturb people. Like, so you're starting to think experience level and maybe you want to use the same room for, breakouts. So who's going to facilitate the changing of the chairs and bringing out tables? Or maybe later on that evening, it turns into speed networking. So it's got to be in long table, long chair. So the hotel might just do that for you as part of the cost, but you need to talk to them and say, at this time, I need this done and this quickly and that kind of idea. But you're walking through it and you're imagining, because you're going to come up with things that you forgot, right? Like, oh, I can't fit a banner there, or this is never going to work. That kind of stuff. And you can adjust before the day of the event, right?
Right.
Things will go wrong or things will come up the day of the event. But if everything else has been planned, you will deal with those things only, right? Not another disaster on top of, man, the projector doesn't work or it looks like it's from 1981, right? You don't want that to be in your wheelhouse of problems when you could have prepped for it ahead of time. Yeah. And when you're working with food, are there allergies that you need to think about? Or are there different dietary restrictions or wants, like, the vegetarian, vegan idea or dairy free or who knows, gluten free? There's tons out there now that people have no problem saying, I eat gluten free, let's say, or I eat vegetarian and I'm going to ask for that, which is fine. And it's actually great to offer that if you can, because it shows you're really caring about the individual, right?
Yeah.
But talk to the hotel or talk to the venue or the caterer about those type of options. Are you able to offer that? And if so, what are your different costs and how do you offer that? So is it through ticket or you just offer different platters and they can choose what they want and hopefully there's enough, which is fine. Just you need to think through all those things. You're thinking experience, right? And then you can go out and market that. Again, if you're doing the gluten-free food, you can even target one ad specifically to people who are gluten-free. Don't forget, our lunch options include gluten-free. That may sell somebody on a ticket right away.
Yeah.
Right? Because now it's about a sandwich instead of the speaker, but you have crafted an ad that speaks to them and shows that you care. And again, they may say, well, I'm going to come out, because that may be something that stops them. Well, I can't eat lunch anyways. Why spend the $25 on the ticket? Who knows? But at least you're thinking about them, right?
Absolutely. And so much of marketing is just putting yourself in your audience's shoes. And when you can do it for an event kind of thing, of course you want to go there. Of course you want to walk through it. Of course you want to visualize it from their point of view. And we've all been to events that have not been the best experience. We've been to events that have been a great experience. And what are the differences there? And acknowledging what made the difference. Was it the people in the room? Was it how accessible the speakers were after the fact? Was it that the coffee was really gross and you were tired all day? Those, little details do matter. And I mean, you just listed a ton of things that need to be thought through. And we do need to get to that micro level if we're planning an event, because you can't just say, you know what, 6 months from now, I think I'm just going to throw this and I'll probably be able to, I can just do it there and it'll fall into place, until you get to that micro level and you're stressed out, the month leading up to it, realizing how many tiny little details go into something, even for a small group of people.
And always double check and don't just give it off to somebody that you supposedly know and trust, right? Yeah. Even if it's like, well, it's my uncle's banquet hall. Right. Which is awesome because that's family, but things could still fall through the cracks, and whether they're doing it because it's family and they just brush it off as no, you guys take care of it, or whether it's actually something that happens wrong, you need to be on top of that, and as much as you can point the blame at other people who dropped the ball, it's still your event, right? Okay. And it's especially a lot more easier when you're doing local and you can go visit. I've done events where they're across the other side of the country. And I'm flying there in a month and a half, and I'm going to start marketing it, but I can't see the room, which is a scary move. But then I got to get there just enough, a little bit early, let's say the day before, 2 days before, to kind of do the walkthroughs then. But there's things that I need to imagine, and hopefully I can relay that to them as the organizers of the venue and make sure they have that. But in that scenario, I can't see the room and I can't visualize it. I have to do the best I can. Maybe I'll go on Google Street View and see parking. But you got to do some due diligence that way. Look at reviews of the venue. And again, don't always trust that everybody's going to come through. I've had several times where, okay, so here's a cool story. I did a concert in the summertime. It was during the Canadian holiday. This is years ago. And so everything's closed in the Canadian holiday. Had a big hip hop artist out in the time, and we're doing a show. So the owner of the venue is, I got everything, Louie. I got the staff in the venue. Typical promoter deal, right? And we're not going to make the drinks. You make the tickets. You pay for the artist and promote. Okay, great. That sounds easy, but so he's also got the staging and the sound and lights, blah blah blah, which means backline, which in music terms is the drum kit and the keyboards and the guitars, because the artists aren't going to fly in with all this equipment, right? They're just going to come in and play. Right. So I'm like, okay, great. So here's my mistake. I figured, we've been working together for years. He's actually going to do his part of the job, right?
Oh,
so I'm promoting and sellout show, like we're talking. I think 3,500 people there, right? Wow. It's an all-day show because it's Canada Day, so it's an all-day event with a barbecue. And so we have our local DJs on there and having fun. And then the manager and the tour manager come up and say, Louie, where's the drum kit for later tonight? I'm like, what?
No
drum kit. And, they want the drum kit for, obviously they need it for their show.
They don't want it. They need it.
Need this drum kit. Drum kit, guys. Come on. It's that. It's a big piece of the band. So I said, there's no drum kit. Hold on, let me go talk to the owner. And, I talked to the owner, and he's frazzled doing his own thing now. It's day of, and things are rolling, and he's got to fill beer and worry about his own thing. And he's like, you know what, Louie, this is your show. I guess I forgot. You got to figure this out. And I'm thinking, well, that's not, first of all, it's not fair. This is your problem. This is your half of the show, and this is what you said you were going to do. And of course, he is not going to help me out at this point because he's running around doing his own thing. And the manager's like, look, no drum kit, no show, man. And I'm thinking, no, relax. I got drum kits all over the place. Don't worry. And I'm thinking, where am I going to get a drum kit? I can't rent one because it's a holiday.
Everything's closed, yeah.
Yeah, so nothing. So I had to think, okay, so how do I get my resources going? So I walked around and, again, who do I know? Hey, guys, are you in a band? Know somebody in a band? Hey, Dorman, what's happening? Is anybody in a band? And we started to text people and put it on Facebook. Hey, anybody in a band? And because we knew they might have a drum kit that is similar of quality. It can't be a garbage drum kit. Right. And yes, eventually we found our drum kit. Got it there. Show went out on a hook. It was a great show. But talk about a frantic and possible panic zone where, and it's not like.
And easily avoidable if you check the day before.
Right. Yeah, even the day before, I would have been able to figure this out. But, it happens. And of course, everything else went off without a problem. And, that was a massive but still very easily fixable problem. But because, we checked and did the check and balances for everything else, and the one big problem that came up there was fixable because that's the one I had to concentrate on. I didn't have to worry about, these other things going on that whatever it would have been. We have no ice, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like we made sure we checked all the other little things. So, but that happens, and again, don't always trust that everybody else is doing their part of the job, even if they're friends and family, not that you have to be mistrustful, but be on their backs, but have meetings. Hey, how's your end going? Do you need help from me? That kind of idea. Mm-hmm. It's not like you have to be if you have a team, depending on how big of an event, you may want to have volunteers, of course, in a team, but you don't want to be on them, but have meetings. See where people need support, how things are going as per the checklist in your head, right? Where are we with this? How about permits if we need permits? How's that going? Because you're not getting that a day before. You know what I mean?
Right.
Make sure people are not just forgetting, or maybe they need extra support and they're getting roadblocked in what they're up to, and you can add support or do something to help, as opposed to it happening day of and them thinking, well, this is your show, right? So
yeah, absolutely. How with the events that you typically put on, do you do a lot of annual events, or is it kind of a mix of one-off versus yearly? Is it easier to market the annual events because there's already some energy built around it?
Yeah, I do a little bit of all of it. When I worked with, and I still have some clients that are in the nightclub and bar aspect, not as many anymore, but they're weekly and sometimes several times a week. They have different events every week. Some of them student nights, and some of them are concerts like literally every week. They're on obviously a smaller scale, so it's a little bit easier to market, and there's some traction going on. But there could be negative traction too. If it's not going well, that marketing is going out there and people are talking about it not being busy. So that traction goes backwards, right? And you have to really adjust and fix on the fly as you're going. And I do the yearly events too, like the larger scale festivals and the consumer trade show idea. Those are fantastic. And like you mentioned, yes, there is big traction, and I have 6 to 10 months of marketing to plan and lots of great social media and targeted ads. And of course, you cross your fingers that the weekend of the weather's good if it's outdoor, and people show up, so that you have, because in those scale events, we're talking like $4 million plus events, just to put on. So you want to make sure that weekend goes off without a hook. And of course, the weather's good, or other events just don't creep up that compete with you all of a sudden in the same event. Or, there's a lot of things that could go on, and you have a whole year to plan, and then you can't change things. Once you're like, it's happening June, whatever, it's happening June, whatever. There's no movement on the fly, right? Yeah. So you have longer planning time, but there's also, that danger as well. But it happens. Thank goodness that things have been successful, which is good. But I think it comes down to the right planning and the right marketing and hitting the right target audience. I think that's a really important thing nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the most common questions that you hear from people when you're doing your consulting? What's something that seems to come up time and again?
I think a lot of times I get the social media isn't working question.
Yeah.
A lot of time. I think a lot of different businesses and people who do Facebook ads and Instagram ads and YouTube ads get that. It's not working for me. Organic reach sucks. Zuckerberg just wants my money. Right. And I'm sure all of the stockholders obviously want some money, but organic reach isn't down because he wants your money. It's down because the quote unquote room is busier. Again, if we're in a networking room, and when Facebook first started, there was only 5 of us in the room, meaning you only liked 5 pages. Of course, everybody's going to hear. Yeah. It's like being in a room with 5 people. Now the room is huge, and in a room of 5,000 people. Well, the 5 people in front of you still hear you. There's your organic reach, but everybody else doesn't, because they all are mingling with everybody else. Yeah. So whoever has that megaphone, which is paying for ads, gets to be heard, right? Or if you're on the stage. Yeah. So it just comes down to just more noise, and that's why organic reach is down. But you got to pay. Like in any business in the world has to do marketing. It's not like unheard of. I don't know very many or any businesses that do zero marketing and magically make millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like, it just has to be done, right? Just do it properly.
And some of these people are the same people that will shell out thousands of dollars for a magazine ad that, a fraction of the amount of people are seeing, and probably nobody's actually engaging with it. They're flipping past it because that's just what they've always done. Yet they hesitate to put the same amount of money into a Facebook ad.
And it's odd because, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, which is kind of mind blowing to me that, like, why are you being so impractical? Like, just look at the numbers, look at the ROI. Like,
And that's the thing I was going to say. Like, look at the ROI on that magazine ad and the amount of money you're spending, and tell me that's not working too, right?
Yeah.
But why are those people very quick to say, "Well, I tried Facebook for a week and that didn't work,"
Right.
And they tried it for free too, not even paid ads, or maybe they boosted some posts but didn't do it properly. But you're not learning. Here's the thing: it's very complicated nowadays. I talked about retargeting and all this kind of. So you need an expert that knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Again, I talk about the entertainment industry. Even musicians are, well, I boosted my post to my target audience. Isn't that what you said to do? I'm like, but you have this flyer looking thing, which people don't want to see ads. We're really getting sick of ads everywhere, right?
Right.
And you boosted that. And of course, you don't even know how to check your ads manager, but your relevancy must be at 1 or 2, and you're paying $4 a click instead of 20 cents or whatever it is. And you're telling me it's not working. I know why it's not working, right? Because you only have half the story still.
Yeah.
It's funny, somebody who pays for yellow pages or the local flyers to the door, the spam in the actual mailbox and that kind of idea.
Yeah.
I wonder when they stop saying this is not working and we really need to figure out social media. And it's funny because slowly but surely those businesses are figuring it out.
Yeah.
They're also closing too, because they're not figuring out fast enough. I don't think they realize that they don't have time, quote unquote, to see how this plays out. Right?
No, it's already happened. It's already been decided. Like, this is the way this is where the market's attention is. And if you're not there, you are done.
Well, I always say my biggest quote is always, play in the sandbox that everybody else is playing in. Like, you might be in the general park, but and hopefully you're at least at the general park. But if you're not in the same sandbox that the other people are playing in, your audience, you're not getting heard and you're not getting sales and you're not going anywhere. It's very important. And that sandbox could change too.
Yeah.
We can go to Snapchat. Your audience can move to Instagram stories instead of Facebook. So especially for me in music, it's a very young demographic for the most part, which is cool because I get to play around. Yeah, I get to play with 360 flyers and VR and AR and all that fun stuff. They're and then I get to share that with other business owners that have a little bit of an older demographic, and it's not as quick to change, which is great because I can say, hey guys,
be ahead of the curve.
Yeah, you could be ahead of the curve and just do a little bit of this, and it is very exciting to your people, and that's really cool, right?
But the thing of that is, it does take time. You do have to learn it. You do have to do it well. So people are used to spending tons of money, tons of time, putting it into a short TV commercial. But like you said, might take, an hour. The intern might throw together one small graphic and set it up as a Facebook ad and then wonder why it's not doing well. And it's the same idea. I mean, you do have to put the effort into it. You might have to try a couple different versions. And that's the great thing about the digital marketing is you can measure every tiny detail. You can test multiple things. And if it's not working, it's not like, that magazine went out for the quarter and now we're stuck with it.
We'll figure it out next year on what happened the last year, right? And that's, you can pivot on the fly, and it's really cool. And the thing with social media too, it's a very different behavior. I mean, it's two-way. It's user engagement. So you need to tell a little story, and it can't just be the flyer and the one post, as opposed to print ads or TV where here's a commercial. There's no two-way conversation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the other point in there, we met with a client recently who was struggling. They have they put on small events and partner with a conference, and they do their own kind of thing within there. And they were struggling with getting people to sign up. They were struggling to find vendors, and vendors were complaining that, he's like, oh, it's $500 for a table and I didn't make a single sale for the day. And I'm like, well, let's think beyond that. Because how many people in your target audience did you get to have a conversation with that day? Make the most of it. That $500 went a long way in networking and in connection and maybe sales down the road. But the other funny thing is, he's like, I know for a fact that he spent $1,500 for a magazine ad, and he didn't make sales on the spot from that. So there is still that disconnect, and it's trying to get, have it clear in your own mind to be able to explain to, for us as a consultant, to be able to explain to the client, who can then explain to the vendor, kind of just that shift in thinking a little bit.
And I think that's it. It's a shift in thinking. Everybody's, very used to that old way of doing advertising, and they still get the white papers. Yeah. And it's all, well, this, TV still has the most viewers, more than YouTube. I'm thinking, first of all, that's probably not true. But second of all, maybe the Simpsons in your show does, but I doubt the commercials have any viewers. They're always feeding that different metric that fits. I mean, here's a funny story. I have a lot of people who are friends in radio, and I even ad sales rep, and they're going to hate me for saying this, but I always do because it's true. I always get sold the bill of goods from them. When I used to do more local stuff, and I did spend some money on radio, which I don't touch anymore, unfortunately for them. But, I would have the same radio station come to me saying, oh yeah, no, Louie, we have lots of hip hop fans on the station. And oh yeah, they're great fans. And they just come across the border from Buffalo to Niagara Falls, if that's where the event is. And yeah. No, look at the numbers. You're number one in this, blah, blah, blah. Right. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I do some advertising. My wife, who had a baby expo at the time, same station comes to her. Oh, yeah, no, we got moms, lots of moms. They tweak the metrics to sell. And I'm thinking, then I sat down with the guy and said, you just gave us, because you didn't know it was the same person really, two completely different metrics. You're telling me my hip hop fans are also the same fans as our moms? Well, we could have both. I'm like, well, how targeted is that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, this is crazy talk. And of course, when the show doesn't go off as well, now they have the excuses. Well, they're across the border. I don't think that we have a lot of Canadian fans. Didn't you just sell me on that 2 weeks ago? And it's like they always change the metrics to fit. Yeah. And in social media ads, the reason why I love this is I can show you the metrics. Look, so here transparent. You go. I'm transparent. This is it. I can tell you exactly what we're targeting. If it's not working, maybe it's the creative. If that's not working, maybe you have a brand problem. Maybe your club sucks now. We got to fix that first. But we can just show you. I'm not hiding anything. Right? It's not like, here's my magical metrics for you. You know what I mean? Yes, we could target, and of course those get shown to them, but they're real. They're not just the same half-hour show. Top 10 Countdown has 7 different audiences, which may be sort of true because radio has so many different audiences, which is also terrible for targeting, right? Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, you got to have transparency as well.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to touch on briefly with you is the concept. I saw a blog post on your site, which, by the way, I didn't mention yet, is louielavella.com, and we'll make sure we link to that in the show notes. But you talked a little bit about email marketing and opt-ins, and you said earlier that you have been getting away from opt-ins and those sort of things. For push-pull sales, I've never set up an opt-in. It started as like, oh, I'll get to that later. And the more I thought about it, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of seeing them. I'm tired of the pop-ups. I'm tired of people, trying to pitch like, hey, here's this free ebook, like, nudge, nudge, put in your email address here. So we haven't done it. And we're trying to think of, how can we bring value in other areas? I think we need to get a little bit away from, where's that fine line of like automation and funnels, which are necessary, but I think it's more in the execution of it that we're getting lazy.
Yeah, I mean, I love that article because I really do get asked that every single time I talk on a podcast now. Do you? It goes against the grain of the normal internet marketer, which I study very closely. Obviously, with doing my thing in entertainment, it's all internet marketing, right? And of course, email still works very well for a lot of people. But I can see this weird trend happening. And so before I get into that article, I'll explain to everybody what I said. Yeah. And I can get those tweets on me. That's cool. I don't mind it. But yes, the automation is dangerous. I talk ill about automation as well quite a bit. It just is not real. So, I think, and we all used to use it, and maybe some people, maybe you still do. I don't know. The Twitter automation. I think it kind of wrecked Twitter when it was very heavily automated. You would auto like, auto direct message, auto this, auto follow, and it almost seemed like it was a shell of robots instead of actual people. Yeah. And I had funny story.
What about the auto tweet? Sorry to interrupt, but
the auto tweet is different. It's scheduling.
Okay, and that's how I feel as well. Because the same thing. We have a whole episode about automation and sales and marketing, and that is one of my biggest pet peeves, if you want to call it that, is the auto reply, the auto DM. Like, it's just so obnoxiously fake and Compared to, like you said, I use Meet Edgar to schedule out social media, but every single one of those articles that I'm tweeting out has been hand selected by me.
And you're probably keeping an eye on engagement, which a lot of people forget to do when they're doing this bot central, right? So you're selecting the right content that is starting to resonate well. Scheduling's fine because you're busy and it's an easy
can't tweet 20 times
thing.
A day.
Yeah, you don't want to be, oh my God, it's 12:01. I better do my tweet. That's okay. But at least you're paying attention. You get notifications. You go out. I don't even know who the person was. Somebody who I followed, business person, was tweeting about one of the automation tools. I don't even know if it was Edgar or Hootsuite or something like that. And I said, hey, that's great, but make sure you're engaging because that's dangerous. Yeah. And of course, a week goes by and I come back to the tweet, no response. And I said, by your lack of response,
you just proved my point. Yeah.
point that I was trying to make. You are not listening at all. I don't know how you're getting business then. So automation could be very dangerous if people think, oh, I'll put it on autopilot. And you're not watching the metrics, you're not changing. Maybe that content you put out didn't work well, so you know to change to something even better. So you're paying attention, which is important. So yeah, I think automation, it could be very dangerous if you're getting away from the scheduling portion. You're just doing everything like auto replies, auto likes on Instagram, auto comments. Yeah. You're making yourself a robot.
The copy paste comments on Instagram are just And
then of course, I've seen people, and I should do it too, where they put a blank white piece, white image, and then the comments are,
funny.
Oh my God, best image ever, flawless, this is great. And you're thinking, this is obviously all automatic bots because this is a white screen. So that could be very dangerous, and you look silly doing that. And coming to the website version, the pop-ups and stuff could get very dangerous because it's an interrupting thing, right? Yes. Just like when we're used to Netflix now and on demand and the Codys of the world where we skip over commercials, and then when commercials come up, we're getting a little bit more pissed at these stupid commercials. And then you watch your show, and then there's a banner ad literally at the bottom of the TV. We're getting angry at this stuff, and that's a user behavior that's getting stronger. So when I go, let's say I read your article, and of course we all used to do this, I took all mine off. If I go to see your article, I've now been interested. Now you've got me engaged. I'm excited to listen to what you have to say, and as soon as I get there, boom, I get interrupted.
Yep.
Give me your email for more. I'm thinking, whoa, I haven't even got to the article yet. You know what I mean? And a lot of people argue that, well, pop-ups still work, and I'm thinking, maybe they do now, but please remember the dangers. You are interrupting them. Yeah. This is why I think YouTube ads that are not done well don't work at all. Because again, I've searched for something, whether it's a music video or a solution, and then I get there and I have to wait the 5 seconds to click go ahead, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's watching those ads.
In comparison, there's one ad that's rolling on YouTube right now that I have watched multiple times past the 5 seconds. It's
content problem.
Yeah, it's a makeup ad about lipsticks, but the interesting thing is it's this great song and the beat drops right after that 5 second where you could skip ahead, but you're caught up and you're like, well, I gotta you're caught up in the music. You're caught up in the ad. It's well done. It's well produced. It's interesting. It sounds good. It evokes something. And, it's hard to do that.
It's well created. They understand I have only a few seconds to capture you. If I put my regular car commercial that you see on TV all the time, you see this winding road start. You're like 5, 4, 3, 2, right? Exactly. It's a regular TV ad on YouTube, which is interrupting you. You're trying to get somewhere and it's stopping you from that. See where the makeup ad has good music. It's targeting properly. Perhaps it's got a little bit of information. Maybe it's a how-to. And that's different. Right. That's content and it's entertaining and that'll capture you a little bit better. So you have to be very careful. So again, with the pop-ups, there's no entertainment by popping up in my face by saying, give me your email now. Right. So I think you're going to find it work less and less. So the article talks about me not wanting emails anymore. Right. Yeah. And of course, everybody's like, Louie, you suck. Emails work. They're the be all end all. It's your content. Don't put it all on Facebook. So first of all, you could lose your emails, like Aweber and MailChimp could say too much spam and you could lose them. So let's pretend the content's not yours, right?
Right.
We all know the SEO thing. They have Panda and whatever other animal they come up with that ruins your SEO. So I know it's your website, but let's just say that there are forces outside of your own content that could work against you. Yeah. And yes, I get Facebook. What if they ban your account or they change their algorithms? I get that. They will do that. Right. That's just that's the world we live in. So my issue with emails are, first of all, I have to advertise to get you to my lander. Then I have to ask you for the email. So what's the ratio of people that are going to actually opt in, right? So take away the money I spent on advertising to people actually opting in. Now when I get the email, is it a spam email? Some people give me spam emails, right? They want the PDF, but they don't want to hear from me anymore. Right. Let's say it's a real email address. What if it goes in Gmail's beautiful promotions tab or, you know what I mean? Ad tab, and they never see my email anyways. What if it's a real email address and they actually get to the inbox? Now, are they going to open it? There's my open rates. Now I have like 30-40% open rates, which is decent.
Yeah.
My industry average is like 12% entertainment.
Yeah,
I have like
good.
almost 40, which is good. But still, out of all that funnel, I'm down to like 40% of even opening it. Then out of the people who open it, how many people are going to click through my call to action, whatever that's going to be? So I've, looked at some funnel. And yes, it's normal to look at that funnel, but I thought that might be a waste of my time. Yeah, and it might be putting up too many
people jump through that many hoops. Why aren't we just, if your Facebook ad, if you do a good enough job, like we can just send them right there. Like why just let them buy the tickets if they're interested?
Right. And that's what I've been doing now. So even my own personal funnel, I have a new one for musicians, and it's a course that talks all about Facebook marketing, getting PR for yourself, blah, 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 right? And I want 0 emails. It is all based on retargeting on Google, which is going to go through, of course, pay-per-click, YouTube, all their entire publication network, and obviously Facebook and Instagram. So those 2 pixels are on all my pages. And I have a very complicated but intricate way to retarget. I know from my cold audience, you've clicked on my Huffington Post or nightclub.com or business.com articles. I know you know of me now. Then I retarget those people. It's a warmer audience. Get to my free course. Now, this is where you would usually ask for the opt-in, but I don't. Here's video 1. I don't want your email. Click to video 2 and 3. Go for it. Enjoy. But I'm retargeting everybody who lands on that page and everybody who watches those videos. And I'm embedding Facebook videos on the actual pages. So what I do is I can tell that you've gone to the page, and I can also tell that you've watched 50%, 75% of my video. And I support that. So what I do is you've gone to video 1, I can send you related posts. Here's a quick screenshot of this musician that got 20,000 views because of this $5 of ads or whatever that one video 1 is about. I can support it. Hey, did you check out video 2? And I can guide you through that way. Now, of course, there's leakage there too. Not everybody gets into the retargeting. Some people will not click through, and that's its own funnel. But it's a different way of doing things, and I think it's a little bit more future-proof than looking backwards, right? Yeah. So this is where I keep getting asked about this article on, Louie, emails are the best. This is your content. But right now, this is what's working well. And I'm sick of doing the 30% open rates after all the funnel, plus the call to action. I can guide you through and go back through it. Yes, there's some dollars involved because email is free for the most part, right? Other than maybe your monthly fee. Yeah. But I'm getting way better sales this way.
Well, so it just comes down to ROI again. So, the time that you're putting into all of that, all of those emails, thinking through all that, making sure that they're going out when they need to, and they're going out to who they need to go out to, and all just so that, 30% of people can see it. It doesn't sound great. That sounds extremely frustrating, and a lot of people are getting really frustrated with it. And I love the method of just simplifying it.
And there's more data. I mean, I can see you've been on that particular page for X amount of minutes, or you've watched this many minutes of my video. In an email, I can only tell that you received it and opened it.
Yeah, right. Which is so much more valuable than just an email address. So what if I have your email address? That doesn't.
So when we're all complaining about you do magazine ads still and you do yellow pages, you look at the data you get on social media or digital marketing. I'm thinking the same way now to email marketing, right? Yeah. So again, the article is early. I bet you if I wrote this article in 3 years from now, I bet you would be like, oh yeah, no, totally. That's the way to do it. Right? But now, and it's great because I get this question asked, but it makes sense. I'm not saying to stop doing email marketing. Again, I'm going to get the tweets saying, oh, Louie, you suck, because that's totally not true. It is true because it's happening. I used to get 50% email open rates. Now it's down to 30, 40. Yeah. People are at the 12. So tell me 12% open rates is still, you're going to hit 2 soon, right? Yep. So it is stopping. It's just the way it is, right?
Yep.
If you have an email, system that works well, use it. I'm not saying to drop it, but I am saying, and the reason why I did that article and I love talking about it is make sure you're future proof. We just went through the same laugh of people still using yellow pages in magazines. This is the same laugh we're going to do a few years from now, or maybe even sooner, when everybody's complaining, man, stupid emails aren't working anymore. You know what I mean? Yep. I get 10% open rates, and even then my ROI is, email sucks. That kind of idea. This is probably the new thing, or maybe it'll change on me, but I'm working on the fly, right? And I like to pivot and test things out. It's working very well. And I get to follow, and I could follow on YouTube and Google as well, because I can pixel everything. Yes. So I think it's important to at least look at, because things will change on you. And when you hit that cliff, at least you'll be prepared. Oh yeah, I tested one funnel, it did well. I know exactly what to do now that email's done. And that's cool. That's what I want people to kind of do, and not just put the hard wall up on there's a lot of people who still SEO, this is how it's done. And great, it still works for you. Awesome. My SEO, it just doesn't get found as well. And I put lots of content. I'm on some major publications. Yeah. I get traffic, but I don't worry about meta tags and tweaking my SEO anymore. Right.
I know.
I just get the right targeted content. So that to me is done. Maybe it's just my demographic, but that to me is done. I'm not going to spend money and time on it.
No, I 100% agree with you. And it's another one of those things that I can't believe that how much money is being thrown at SEO. And I'm like, Google and the crawler bots or whatever are getting smarter and smarter. And all that matters really is just the user experience. Like, let's stop trying to game the system. Mm-hmm. Let's just let people come to your site. Just like an event, your site should be that. It should be a good experience. They should be able to get the information that they were looking for. If I am like, oh, that sounds interesting, and I head to your site, I should be able to find that info, whether it was, I need to find your phone number, or I need to find more about you, or I want to find that blog post that I heard about, or I remember seeing. Let them get to that information. From there, once they're engaged, then you can try to guide them into what you want them to do, but you need to give them what they wanted first. Mm-hmm. And
you could ask for an email there. Hey, you want my PDF? Click on it. But I would also say retarget them. You've been on that checklist, or you've been on that page. I know that. So here I'm going to send you an ad to get that PDF via email, or just here's the email, or here's the PDF, whatever you want to do. But it's not in your face, like you mentioned, interrupting, and the site has to be easy flowing and a good portal of what you are.
Yeah. Along the line of the emails, what do you think about texting, like the SMS kind of, not ads necessarily, but communication?
I'm a big fan of messaging, and it doesn't have to be SMS. I mean, I do a ton of business on WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, a ton. Right. And it might just be because of my demographic. Again, even venue owners that are older, they're used to that style of messaging. Yeah. I'm always worried about interruptive advertising. Mm-hmm. I think it is a dangerous play. I know the pop-up ads, the YouTube, I can see that user behavior when I work with Gen Z and millennials now getting older. And that's going to keep creeping higher and higher. So, a lot of people say, well, especially in nightclubs, get their SMS and you could just blast them when there's a special. I'm thinking, I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I'm concerned that it's not going to work soon, right? Yeah. Or a lot of venues and businesses are not seeing, because people are guarded. That's why they're guarded with giving you a spam email. They're sick of getting more ads. If I gave you my actual cell phone number, what am I going to get $5 off the fries today, or am I going to get a special discount on my hosting? But now I'm concerned you have my number and you might spam me. And how do I get that number off? People don't really follow the do not call list, right? So I could be concerned. Now there's a trust level involved there where you won't do that, but I'm concerned that SMS, while I think messaging is super powerful, I'm concerned about how you get the information and what you give them back. Mm-hmm. So I like advertising in Facebook Messenger. If they message me, I'll advertise back and that kind of stuff. And that's really cool. You just have to be really strategic and be careful what you do, because you don't want to lose their trust, right? Yeah. And then you kind of, you kind of wreck the whole funnel for yourself. So, but messaging, all of them, I think there's probably 100% open rates, right? Yeah. On very close to. So I really love messaging. It's just being really strategic, and I think it's case by case on how you use it and how you ask for it and what you give them, because you have to really hold on to that trust, because it's a very guarded thing. Right.
And I think that's why messaging works, because it, for the most part, I mean, it does require a human. It requires a human interaction. It requires something genuine.
For now, bots
but the difference is, if it's a bot, it is so abundantly clear that it's a bot. So,
which will wreck the trust.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we covered a ton of information. Before we wrap up, we always ask people who come on the podcast if you have a recommendation, like a book, an app, a course, that you would recommend to people.
Man, I love books, and I'm an audiobook guy. So if I'm going to meetings or at night, I will take these audiobooks in like crazy. There's so many that I love. Yeah. I loved 4-Hour Workweek, not because I only work 4 hours, but it had some really cool concepts of outsourcing and concepts of testing your market. So that was a really good one if people haven't read that. Yeah. I really liked Trust Me, I'm Lying, Ryan Holiday. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that one. That one talks about, so he did a lot of PR work for American Apparel. He talked about even some of the dirty business of PR, but how he leveraged the local, let's say, newspaper and went to, like, he talked about how writers and contributors get paid for the most part by the amount of views they get. And this is where clickbaiting started to get bigger and bigger because they needed you to click, right? And of course, now we're trying to fix that. But he told that entire story of how it works. So you get into the heads of a contributor and a writer and how to contact them. You know, here's my local blog piece. You may want to write this piece, and then you level up. It was a really cool book. And I use a lot of those concepts even to myself now. And I'm a contributor on a lot of great publications. And then I use that to level up and get stories on me on other publications. And you use that to your authority, and then you can boost that out. But that was a really cool book.
That sounds fascinating. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check out that one. And along the lines of American Apparel, I just finished listening to the Startup podcast where they did a whole season following Dove, the former owner of American Apparel, and now his new project that he's starting. It was a fascinating thing. They followed him around and interviewed a whole bunch of people. Yeah, it was really cool. So how can people find you?
All over social media, obviously.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, my website. And they're all my first last name, Louie Lavella. So it's LouieLavella. So LouieLavella.com or at Louie Lavella on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Perfect. So they should tweet you and tell you that email marketing is amazing.
No.
And and they should send you auto DMs and tell you every image is amazing. So that sounds great. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to wrap up with?
No, I think that was a lot of information. I'm sure we could talk, like we could do a whole series of podcasts on marketing tips coming from the entertainment industry, but how it really translates. And I think a lot of people who get it think, oh no, that makes sense. I do that as well. And hopefully people got a couple extra golden nuggets too. But this has been fun.
I think the other important thing there too is that a lot of times, it intellectually or rationally or like for ourselves, we understand that this stuff is true, but we're still stuck in doing, but this is best practice, right? But everybody tells me I should set it up this way. And it's
I would say test it out for yourself.
It's giving the inspiration to just be like, you're allowed to try something else, and it might not work. It might work better, but that's the beauty of this internet age, that try it. If it doesn't work, you don't have to do it again. You can adjust, and at least you'll know whether it worked or not.
100%. Absolutely. And that's a great thing. You can pivot as you move along. Just have your one goal and then weave around in there.
Perfect. All right, Louie. Well, like I said, we'll make sure that we link up to your stuff in the show notes on pushpullsales.com. And it was so much fun speaking with you. I think my pace of speech picked up a little bit. I think you crammed a lot into this past hour, and cool. I think our audience will get a lot out of it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
So that wraps things up for this week. Thanks again to Louie for coming on the podcast. Thank you to bensound.com for our intro and outro music. And thanks to you guys for listening. You can tune in next time where we'll tackle another topic. But in the meantime, head to pushpullsales.com where you can view the show notes from today's episode or blog posts or past episodes. And we have a whole page dedicated to resources from books that people that have come on the podcast, or just things that we've read and feel like are really worthwhile and really valuable. So you can view those there. You can follow us on Instagram at pushpullsales or tweet us at pushpullsales. And of course, you can email us pushpullsales@gmail.com as well. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.